everybody, this is Amy, and I wanted to share with you a tutorial on how I sew the hair into my Voodoo doll. You kind of have to get your doll all ready to go, and for me the hair is like kind of the last step. So, you know, die cut your pieces for your Voodoo doll, decorate your Voodoo doll. So on this one, she's a flower child Voodoo doll, and as I said, she's a twin sister to the Ghoulie Glam Voodoo doll I had done. And she's, you know, pretty ready to go. I did the, you know, how I was going to decorate her like a flower child. She has a flower. She has her skull, and her crossbones, her heart, her scar, a stick pin, you know, since she's a Voodoo doll. And then since she's a flower child, she has the peace sign and scar. And on the back, I put a peace sign on her booty. And she has more scars and a scar on her neck. And then I did, you know, a lot. So that all gets done. I sewed on her belly button and all that gets done. And then I start assembling and stitching the front and back pieces of the Voodoo doll together. And I start my stitching here. I think it, you know, for me, it just seems like a natural flow to start here and work my way around this way. I guess it's like a clockwise approach is how I do it. So yeah, so she's pretty much finished except for her hair. And then, you know, if you're going to do hair on your Voodoo doll, what I recommend is you pick out the material you're going to use for your Voodoo doll's hair. I used this twine from Target. It's called Sugar Paper, and you can get this at Target during the holiday season and the holiday. Or alternatively, you could choose other twines or yarns for your Voodoo doll's hair. I use that. You need you need to figure out how you want to do the hair. I wanted to do pigtails. I was very much inspired in making these Voodoo dolls by Harley Quinn style to some degree, and I wanted to do pigtails for my twins. So I created pigtails using the Target twine. So you have to figure out how you're going to do your hair. I did pigtails. You could do hair all the way across. You could do one spiky hair. You could do whatever you kind of want at this point, but you need to figure that out, you know, now. And then once you kind of figure out how you want to do your hair, since I did the pigtails, I needed 2 pieces of this twine. You cut it to the desired length that you want for your hair. And basically this is going to go into a U shape so you need 2 pieces of twine, each one in a U shape, 2 pigtails, and then I just unravel the twine. And I would recommend in cutting the length that you wear on the side of longer, because you can always give your dolly a little haircut if you think your hair is looking too long. If at the end of the day you feel like the hair is too short, I don't think there's much you can do about it other than kind of taking dolly apart and going back and redoing it all again. But if it's a little bit longer than you want, then you can always just give her a trim. And so yeah, so what I did was, like I said, I kind of cut it to the length that I thought I wanted, the twine, and then I unravel the twine. I put it in a little U shape, and at this point the dolly's all stuffed, she's pretty much together, and I kind of just figure out my hair placement. You want to do that before you get too far along in your stitching, because otherwise then you'll have to go on to your, if you have to make a judgment call, like where you want to stop your stitching and do your hair, because it really depends on how you want to do the hair and where you want to put the hair, and that choice. So you have to make a judgment call there. For the pigtails, I stopped it about here, and I am kind of adjusting her hair, thinking, you know, I want it to be appropriately spaced. And I also, you also figure out how you're going to decorate your pigtails. So like if you're going to use bows or pom-poms or whatever, I'm going to use these flowers. So you want to kind of visually kind of take a moment to look at how you're going to decorate it and leave enough space in between any decor items. You know, make sure you have adequate space. That looks good to me. You don't want your kind of hair decor, your hair accessories like butting up against each other, and you don't want them like too far apart. So, you know, now's the time where you kind of figure out how you want to place all your hair and hair decor, hair accessories. Since I did a blanket stitch, I'm going to blanket stitch the hair into my doll. If you chose to assemble your doll with glue or a different stitch, you would just need to make adjustments for however you assembled your doll. In this case, if you did a blanket stitch, you would kind of do what I did if you want to do it the way I did it. So basically, get your hair kind of lined up in there, and I'm feeling pretty good that her hair is in a good spot. And get her the other pigtail lined up. Let me see, I just want to get these good and lined up. And this one's a little twisted, so I'm going to untwist that and make sure I have her hair kind of where I want it. I think that looks, this one's giving me a little bit of trouble. Let me kind of stop for a second and get this one right. Okay, that looks better. There we go. So yeah, so I think we're doing pretty good there. Okay. And I'm going to do a visual accessory check one more time, and I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, so now what you do is you've stitched up to your hair is butting up against your stitching, and you need to now blanket stitch your hair in by section into your blanket stitching on your doll. Or at least that's how I did it. Like, there's more than one way and one solution to do everything. This is how I did mine. So for my blanket stitching, I'm coming in from the back, and so I come in. What I want to do is I want to section out this hair a little bit and put it into the blanket stitch. So I'm going to take this section of hair and I'm going to run my blanket stitch around that section of hair. So I am going to just kind of get everything orderly here, and I am going to bring this through, and this is how, I hope you can see that, the blanket stitching. And then, now there we go. Now I have that whole kind of section of hair stitched into my dolly. And then I'm going to get the next section stitched in. And you can take more or less or make your sections as big or as small as you want. You know, that's up to you and what you think looks good. But I have that first section stitched in, and now I'm going to go get this second section stitched in. If you're using hair accessory items on your doll after you get the hair stitched in, which I imagine you probably would do if you're going to all this trouble, you know, that's going to cover up, obviously, some of the hair, so and some of the stitching. So I wouldn't get too crazy about it looking perfect. I mean, you want it to look good, but you don't have to get too crazy about it. So here I am. I'll do this more slowly from a different angle. I'm stitching in that blanket, stitching in that second section of hair. So there we go. Our hair's stitched in there now. And I'm gonna pull that hair in again. Let's see. So get it in there good. We're gonna get this section pulled in. Yeah. Okay. Oops. You know, that section of hair is pulled in, and then we'll get this other section of hair pulled in. And if you were doing, like, if you weren't doing hair accessories, you might want to do tighter stitching to pull the hair in. But if you're doing, like I am, a hair accessory with the flower, it's going to cover it up. So you don't have to do that extra work. But you certainly could if you were more comfortable with it that way. So now I'm going to pull this final blanket stitch around the second section of hair, and pull it through. Okay, and there we go. And then I'm gonna finish up the stitching on my dolly. But before I let you go, I'm gonna go finish up the stitching around my dolly, and then I'll come back and finish up her hair. But the next step I do is I take just some of this and tie off those pigtails at the base. it's just this is some black embroidery floss. I'd use a coordinating color with whatever color your hair is. And then, you know, just kind of like that, and make a little knot. Okay, see, made a little knot for a pigtail. We'll cut that off. And just make sure you don't cut her hair. Cut that off. And then we'll also do that for the other pigtail. Okay, so I went back and I watched the video, and unfortunately a couple points I went off camera doing my stitching, but I hope you saw enough to be able to recreate the hair. So I went, you know, while I was off camera, I finished up her stitching. So she's pretty much getting done here, right? Now we just need to accessorize her hair. And I'm choosing to accessorize her hair with these little daisies since she's a flower child. And I'm just going to hot glue those on. Oops. Oh dear, my hot glue gun isn't real cooperative. So I'm just going to hot glue those little flowers onto the base of her hair. Here we go. To cover up, some of that stitching. I can position the other daisy on her hair. I want them to be approximately even and look good. I have some hot glue threads on there. And then, there we go. And then what I would recommend is you kind of like, she's unfinished on the back now. So I cut 2 other daisies to finish off the back of her hair. And I'll hot glue those on as well. On the other glam doll I did, the Ghoulie Glam gal that I did for Shara, I used pom-poms on the front and back of her hair to finish it off. Yeah, and then you'll just want to line those flowers up with the front flower so that lines up nicely. Looks good. Yeah, that looks good. And then let me do the other flower. And let's see, I just put a little hot glue on there. Line up that flower. Good. Make sure that, I want to make sure that lines up good get a good alignment from front to back. A little off. There we go. There we go. And there we go. And like I said, like this hair, I can see her hair is a little bit uneven, so I can give her a little bit of a trim so that she looks more evenly spaced. Let's see, her hair's a little bit more even. And let's see, and we'll trim this one a little bit too. I'd still wouldn't, I wouldn't do it perfectly. That would look weird. So we'll go like this. I'll go a little bit like this. I think that'll look better. There we go. There we go. I mess up her pigtail. I'll mess them up a little bit. And, yeah. There we go. So, yeah. So, that's my little voodoo dolly. I'm so thrilled with how she came out. These are super fun to make, right? The last one was Ghoulie Glam. This one I did the flower child theme. And then I'm going to make another one. If you watch, my Instagram feed and my videos on YouTube, you probably have some sense that I love 80s metal music. I'm a huge fan of Def Leppard. So I'd like to do a voodoo doll. The next one I do will have like a rock motif with a guitar stitched into her back and music notes and a record. Maybe a cassette tape stitched in along with the scars and bones. So I'll be doing a rocker theme next. And, but you could do whatever you like with these dolls and personalize them. You could do like a Christmas theme with the doll. If you're really into Christmas, a Disney theme. If you're really into Disney, baking, a baking theme, soccer theme, your favorite team theme, whatever you want to do with your doll, you can do. Your only limit is your imagination. This die set from Ellen Hudson is amazing, and it's a lot of fun. And, personalizing your dollies and making them their own. Certainly, I've had a blast doing it. So, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye.